At the time of this recording, it has been about 2 years since the release of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, and almost 7 years since the release of Super Mystery Dungeon. With it having been so long since a brand new entry, I wanted to make a video to discuss what we could realistically expect from a brand new game. With the announcement of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we are now 3 whole generations that are unrepresented in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Assuming a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is being made right now, we can expect only Alola and Galar to get representation, and maybe some Pokemon from Legends Arceus. Of course, this is only assuming a new Mystery Dungeon comes out this year or the next. If a new one doesn't come out within 2 to 3 years, it's to be expected Gen 9 would be represented. Then there's the topic of regional variations of Pokemon. I don't expect any issues to come up should they add regional variations to Mystery Dungeon, barring a few anyway. Regional variations are visually distinct enough to tell them apart from their original counterparts, so they can get away with referring to Alola Ninetales as Ninetales or Galarian Meowth, like they do in the main games, since I know one concern is referring to them as their regional counterpart would bring up the question of why would they know Alola or Galar if it doesn't exist in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon world. There are a few regional variations I could see being a pain to implement, if you're trying to get them through evolving anyway, with Raichu, Exeggutor, Typhlosion, Decidueye, and Samurott. These Pokemon need to come from a specific region in order to evolve into their different final form. Unless a new Mystery Dungeon has a means of tagging these Pokemon and let the player know what their final evolution is, I could see all their different final forms being locked to being only recruitable in dungeons. As for gameplay mechanics and gimmicks from the main games, I could see Mega Evolutions making a return, since they were in Super and Rescue Team DX. I definitely don't see Z-moves being implemented since the time for them has long since passed. I could see Dynamaxing popping up in a new Mystery Dungeon game. Maybe more so for special boss encounters than anything else, unless they have a new multiplayer focus mode that sort of works like Dynamax Raid does in Sword and Shield. Assuming a new game is years from now, I could see them also implementing the regional gimmick from Gen 9. Assuming it isn't too gimmicky or lame. As far as unique features returning from previous Mystery Dungeon games, I expect Looplets and Emeras, as well as the Legion's attacks from Super to make a return. Looplets and Emeras just felt like a natural step forward in comparison to the previous games with just scarves and other held items. Since some Looplets come with effects, you can be able to slot in Emeras for additional effects, and if you're lucky enough to find certain Emeras, you could be pretty much set in any dungeon. A Legion's attacks returning would also be nice just to have another move in your arsenal to bust out your posse to deal with a certain Pokemon that you're having trouble with. Now, as far as the soundtrack goes, I expect the guys who handled Gates to Infinity and Super Mystery Dungeon to handle a new one. And I know that may sound disappointing, especially for the people who really loved the first 2 games' soundtracks, since Arata Yoshi pretty much knocked those soundtracks right out of the park. But since they didn't really bring him back on board for Rescue Team DX, I don't really expect him to return for a new game anytime soon. There's one thing that everybody needs to expect when a new Mystery Dungeon is announced, and odds are most people aren't going to like it. It's a safe assumption that not every Pokemon are going to be able to make it into a new Mystery Dungeon game. With there almost being 1,000 different Pokemon, I can't really say with much confidence that every single Pokemon is going to be able to make the cut, especially if they were to include Gen 9. I know back when Super released it managed to include all 700 something Pokemon in it, but I'm trying to keep my expectations for it somewhat realistic. I would love for every Pokemon to make the cut, but I expect some aren't going to make it, even if the next game will have a ton of Pokemon in it. If there's anything really glaring that I neglected to talk about, or if you have any hopes and expectations in another game, leave a comment and let me know. Hope you all enjoyed the short video, and that you take care.